Hello, Lloyd Moyer here. My mission today, should I choose to accept it, something I've been wanting to try and do is to make a honey pot and a honey dipper. So I actually have a lid that I had made for another pot, another project that is perfect for a honey pot lid. So that's what this is going to be. This is you. I have that set aside, and then I have a blank for a honey dipper, and I have a blank for my honey jar. So we're going to see how this goes. I've never made one before. I have a design in my head, just a normal honey jar and honey dipper, but you're going to see how it goes with me. So I'm looking forward to this. It's going to be fun. So thanks for joining me. So my starting point is there are some checks and things on this end of the blank that I wanna get rid of. This is my this is going to be my pot for the honey pot. This is going to be the pot part. So I'm going to clean this end up and then set a turn that down so it'll fit in a smaller set of jaws. Also, we'll probably true this up while I'm at it. This is turning at about 1500. Peeling cut. I just want to get down below those checks. Which I have there. So now I'm just going to come in with my spindle gouge and get rid of the rest of this. This is not seated completely flat in my chuck. Bit of a high spot in the middle, which is why I'm getting some vibration. Now I don't need to set this to a perfect diameter for my chuck. I just want to know that I'm in the right general area. So remember, when you're doing this, you're making contact with the wood here on the side towards you, and you just want it to line up with the other side, but you don't want the other side to touch the wood. Very important. Now my other jaws are pretty deep. So I can make this a relatively long surface here, just so I get a good grip. And you know what? While I'm here, I'm going to clean up. I'm just gonna round this out all out. I'm just going to do that with a quick peeling cut all the way down. I'm just going to switch chucks. There's still one little check mark here that I'm seeing that I'll have to cope with in a little bit. But first of all, I just want to clean up what is going to be the bottom end and get it set to the correct diameter. And I will turn it flat, turn it, kind of concave on the bottom side. Again with a peeling cut. And then just true up the bottom. This is also a peeling cut. But as I get in towards the middle, I'll switch to the gouge. I don't want this flat. I actually want this concave so that it sits on the outside rim. And remember, when you get to the middle, the wood in the middle is barely turning. The wood out here is turning much faster than the wood in here, and the very center is barely turning at all. All right, now I'm going to set the diameter for my large jaws. That's either going to be just a touch too big. I think that's going to be just a touch too big for my large jaws. So we're going to do it with my smaller ones. And it'll just have to go over a jam chuck to clean it up. In this craft, you got to be adaptable. So I'm just going to take this recess down a little bit more. Doesn't need to be huge. And then just give it a little bit of a different lip. And this is just my skew chisel here. If I did my job right, you should have at least one set of jaws that will fit into that recess. Yep. So that's my one-way stronghold jaws will fit in there. So again, we go back to the sandpaper. There's a little bit of a ridge there from the skew chisel I just want to clean up. So before I go any further with shaping the outside or anything like that, I want to get an idea of how the lid is going to fit and where the lid is going to fit. I think since I have this little, I have this little check that I can barely see, but it's there. It's right here. And goes down a little ways. I'm going to take this shoulder off. And then we'll fit the diameter here. And I want the outer diameter to match this lip, or maybe be a little less than that lip. No, now that I think of it, this actually might be cool. This might be better if this lip sits inside a little lip on the interior. But either way, this is going to come away. Using my 3/8 spindle gouge, mostly just because it was sitting here. A little bit slower here. Up to about 1600. Okay. Looks like my checking is gone. Just going to clean up this end. Doesn't have to be super clean. I just want to, when I set the diameter, I just want to have an easy time seeing what I'm doing. So next I have to set my my calipers. I'm going to set it to the inside rim here for starters. This is a piece of this lid is a piece of yew. If you ever get a chance to turn yew, jump at it. It's beautiful. Okay. Also, I'm going to drill a depth gauge. pretty much going to be able to drill all the way down my depth gauge here, but not quite. I'm up just a little bit high. Okay. Then I'm going to do the first part of this with back hollowing. I think I will do it with my larger spindle gouge, just for efficiency's sake. So I've said this before, but back hollowing, you're really cutting with the top edge of the gouge here. But what's happening is there's nowhere for the gouge to move. You know, if you're trying it in a different situation, it'll catch and pull you back this way. But when you're in this very small opening, there's nowhere for the gouge to go. So it's a very efficient cut for end grain only. And I'm going to do the rest with my scraper. Now, before I go too far, I want to, again, I want to set the diameter of my, for my lid. Now, this should not be a suction fit lid or anything like that. I want it to fit, but I don't want it to be super tight. Both because humidity changes and difference in wood will make a difference in that. All right, that's about where I want my my interior diameter to be. And again, this can seem monotonous, but it's important to get this right. And you see how I'm not perfect, and that's okay. I don't want it to be too tight a fit. I want it to have some room to move. So I think the thing to do now I think I also want to set the exterior. at least at the rim. So if that's going to sit like that, I think I want my my interior curve to be pretty close to that. Rather than hanging over or sitting in, I think I want it to just be pretty close to that. At least at the rim. Again, I've never done this before. So I don't know if it's going to be right or not, but all right. I'm going to pay attention to this now because if I decide I don't like what I do, I can still cut this off and just make a slightly shallower pot. I just want to see how this looks if I round it over just slightly. That's still just a little bit bigger. Okay. I'm okay with that. So now I'm going to give a rough shape to the outside. I want a little bit of a curve. And I actually think I'm going to give a little bit of a curve down at the bottom as well. So that curves in the thinnest part of this is really about right here, and it comes back just slightly. I think I also, what I meant by give a curve to the bottom, I think I'm also going to give just a little bit of curve down here. So it's a little more reminiscent of a pot rather than I don't know, whatever it is. And I like the little bit of decoration there. even though it's not practical anymore and I don't need to use it for anything, I still like it. It's also my intention to make this thicker in the bottom. It'll be regular, but it'll be thicker in the bottom. End grain hollowing like this, a good scraper is very efficient, and you actually get a surprisingly good cut. I think that means I might be a little low. And I'm also getting a little bit far out. I want to be slightly pointed downwards at the center. Looking for my depth hole. It is still there. It's just it's in such a way. It bumped in. Damn it! It bumped into the edge there with the edge of the scraper. I'm gonna have to clean that up. I guess it's worth saying that you really have to be careful all the time when the lathe is running. Okay, that took care of it. I also have a magnet here that can be useful. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to hold my tool next to where the where the bottom should be. And then I'm going to line up the magnet so that it's at the top here. So when I'm in here, I know how much more room I have from where I want to stop and where I am. It's a good backup to the depth gauge. I'm thinking whether or not I want to have some kind of a lip. I don't own an air compressor. I have a vacuum cleaner, but guess I don't really need a lip. No, I don't need a lip. It's just going to be an inset lid. Sorry, I realize this is probably not a great view. If it makes you feel any better, it's not a great view for me either. Looks like that is just about the end of the depth hole. A little bump. Okay. I don't want this, I don't necessarily need this bottom to be perfectly flat. I don't mind if it comes up on the sides a little bit. I don't want it to be opposite of that though. Good. And it is a little bit high in the middle right now. So I'm just moving very, very gently back and forth across the sort of the middle third. It's much more of a feel than a see thing right here. Happy with that for the inside. Yeah. I'm gonna sand the inside with 120 grit. Walnut oil and beeswax. Now, my next project. So next, I'm going to do the dipper, and if I don't mess that up too badly, then I need to drill a hole in the lid so that the dipper can go through. This piece is much too big, but it was the one that was closest that I could get the length that I needed out of. So that's what we're going to try. It's around where I would like the length to be. If it's a little longer than that, it's fine. Okay. So that's about that's about my length. I'm going to do my handle first because that's the narrowest part and it will probably be the toughest. I always think that any self-respecting honey dipper has a little knob on the end. Something like that. I guess I can do this with a peeling cut as well, which might be a little bit faster. Usually a honey dipper handle is just a straight dowel. But you know, since I'm doing this by hand, one of the supposedly one of the advantages of getting something that's made by hand is that it doesn't have to be like it always is. So I can add a bead or a shape or something to this to make it more interesting, and I will. And then of course the challenging part of this is I want this to be very thin, very small. This is a piece of black cherry, which should be pretty stable, pretty strong. So I should be able to get it good and thin. when you're spindle turning like this, don't be afraid to hold on to the, as long as you don't grip it and you just let it, just let your fingers rub it, it gives you very good support for getting, for cutting small diameters. And also remember that as the diameter gets smaller, as this one is, it's turning slower. So you got to take your time also. Now, if I was making hundreds of these, I would have a very sort of set style, I'm sure. But I'm not, so I don't. But I do think that most of the decoration needs to be at the knob end rather than the dipper end, because any decoration that you have down here at the dipper is going to get honey in it, which maybe you don't want. Oh, little catch there. Oh, another one. That was just me being careless. So that's okay. I'm actually going to switch to my smaller skew chisel. One way to avoid that little catch like that is it's a little safer sometimes to flip the tool around and cut with the long end down rather than up. Looks pretty good to me. So far, I just want to get in here and cut a bit with my parting tool. It's just so I know where my end is. So there's my little dipper ball. And I think that's narrow enough. Could probably make that a little bit narrower. Can be a fun exercise to do some spindle turning and just see how narrow you can get something and still have it be consistent and cut nicely. At least good practice. I'm going to come up here and just do a couple of little grooves. All right, now the way I always understood these, where you just have some grooves set regularly, like so, that the honey can collect on. Now the cheap ones literally just have this, what I've just done. But since I have a lathe, I'm actually going to do real grooves. Something like that. I think that's right. I think maybe the only thing will be I want these to be a little more pointed. I don't know that this actually adds to their effectiveness. Just makes it so I like the way they look better, though. This is 180 grit. I don't know if anybody ever even uses these anymore. There's always one in my house when I was a kid. Of course, there isn't one in my house now. There will be. Because I am turning this in a chuck, I'm actually going to be able to finish the end without the tailstock. So long as I do it gently. This also is where this not being too afraid of holding on to the spinning wood comes in. And if it starts to get just a little bit too hot, you just got to let it go. It's a little bit too pointy. There we go. Walnut oil and beeswax. Sort of counting on the beeswax and the honey, to seal this pretty well. Nice thing about end grain turning is that the fibers of the wood are very well supported and very strong going in this direction. So I can actually turn this with a very small diameter. As always, provided that I do it gently. And what I'm going to do here, oh, there you go, is now I should be able to actually cut this, actually use this a bit like a chisel. I could do this with a pocket knife or a blade or something, but skew chisel works just as well as long as you're careful. And then I'll sand it. See, that was why I say you got to be careful. If I just sort of went over like that, if my finger was in the way, it would have been a nice cut. Now the only thing left, there's a honey dipper. The only thing left is to drill a hole in the lid so that this can sit in the pot with the lid, with it coming out of the lid. So I used my bandsaw to cut out a very rough and rudimentary shape for the hole. And then cleaned it up with a Dremel tool and some sandpaper, and that was it. So there is the dipper, there's the lid, here is the pot. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this. It was really fun for me to do. It was a great challenge, something I've never done before. So I hope you enjoyed watching it as much as I enjoyed making it. Feel free to leave me a question or a comment. Tell me all the stuff I did wrong. I'm happy to hear it. Till next time.